In this video, I'm going to show how to solve derivations 1, 104, 106, and 108. So let's take a look. So we'll start with show conclusion, of course. We see that the conclusion is conditional, and so we'll make a conditional assumption. Now, what should we do next? Well, the derivation is stuck, so we have to do a subderivation. But even if it weren't stuck, it would be a good idea to do show cons, to show the consequent of the conclusion, right? 3 is the consequent of 1, so when we have canceled 3, we can apply CD to 3, and that will box and cancel 1. So that's why we're going to do 3. So let's look at 3. 3 is another conditional, so we'll say assume CD, and again we can say go ahead and show cons. The derivation is stuck here still, but even if it weren't, we could say show cons, because once we box and cancel 5, we'll apply CD to it to box and cancel 3, and once 3 is boxed and canceled, and that box and cancels 3, which means we can then apply CD to it, which box and cancels line 1. So once we finish 5, we're done. Now we'll say assume CD and we get P. Now at this point we have two options. We could say show cons yet again, and we'd be showing R, and we'd say assume ID here, because that's the only assumption we can make at that point. However, we don't need to show R because we can use P at this point. We can use P with line 2. We can say 2,6 modus ponens, which gives us Q, and now we can use Q with line 4 modus ponens again, if I can write it out, and that gives us R, which is the consequent of line 5, so we can apply CD to line 8, which box and cancels line 5. Line 5 being box and canceled, we can use it, so let's apply CD to it. That will box and cancel line 3. Line 3 being box and canceled, we can use it. Let's apply CD to it, which will box and cancel line 1. So we just have to be sure to complete the show cons. If the derivation had been stuck at this point here, then we would have wanted to do show cons and made this indirect assumption. But in this case, we didn't need to. It was enough to do this. So there is 104. I'm going to go ahead and look at 106. Okay, so we'll say show the conclusion. We see that the conditional is that the conclusion is a conditional, so we're going to assume CD. And we're going to say show consequent, as we are used to. We see that our new show line is itself a conditional, so we'll say assume CD, and we'll again show the consequent. We see that our new show line is a conditional, so we'll say assume CD. We could say show consequent again, although again at this point we would just be setting up an indirect derivation, which as it turns out in this case we do not need to. So again, we're not going to do this time. When you're not sure, if you're not sure, go ahead and do this, or you can remember that you're not doing it, come back to it later if the derivation gets stuck. So we have P. We can use P with line 2 for modus ponens, and we can also use P on line 6 with 4 for modus ponens. Okay, so our two new lines are 7, 8, which are Q, and if Q then R, and we can apply modus ponens to those, and that gives us R, which is the consequent of line 5, so we can apply CD to line 9, which will box and cancel line 5. Line 5 being boxed and canceled, we can now use it. We'll apply CD to it, which will box and cancel line 3. We'll apply CD to line 3 because it's now boxed and canceled, and that box and cancels line 1 in turn. And there we go. So again, it's just a matter of repeatedly showing the consequent. And just keep doing that until you can't anymore, or until you would have to make an indirect assumption. Then now let's look at 08. And again, we'll delete the work on this problem. So we'll say show the conclusion. We see that the conclusion is a conditional, so we will assume the antecedent and show the consequent. We see that our new show line is a conditional, so we'll assume the antecedent and show the consequent. We see that our show line is conditional, so we'll assume the antecedent. We can use P with line 2, so we'll go ahead and do that. We can use Q, we can use 7 and 4 together. We get R, and now we're done again because R is the consequent of line 5, so we apply CD to R to box and cancel line 5. Now that line 5 has been boxed and canceled, we can apply CD to it because it is the consequent of line 3, and that will box and cancel line 3. And finally, we can apply CD to line 3 because it is the consequent of line 1, and we thereby box and cancel line 1. So just show consequent, show consequent, show consequent, and you got it.